Alright, so I'm going to show you how we're going to make the Surrealism landscape. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to go into Photoshop, and you need to decide if you want this to be a portrait or if you want this to be a landscape. So if you want this to be a portrait, then the width is going to be 8.5 inches and the height is going to be 11 inches. And if you want it to be a landscape, then you're going to switch those two. So the width is going to be 11 inches and the height is going to be 8.5 inches. So I'm going to go over here in Photoshop and I'm going to call this Surrealism Landscape. And right now this is set up for portrait, so I want to change this so that I can set it up for landscape. And I want to make sure that the resolution is at 300 pixels per square inch. You can keep the color mode at RGB color mode, and I'm going to click OK. Alright, so you can see here I have my landscape canvas set up, and now I'm ready to start adding in pictures. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to upload my images to Google Drive. So you can do this from your phone, but you do need to have the Google Drive app installed on your device. Or you can download the images from home and you can upload them onto your Google Drive. So I do have these on my Google Drive. So here are my images. I'm going to get back to these a little bit later, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do that, but I want to start building from the background first. So I'm going to do a Google image search, and I want a space background, so I'm going to look for space, and I'm going to click on images. I really like this one. It's nice and colorful, so I'm going to click on it, and it has great resolution. So I'm going to hold down Control on my keyboard, and I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to say Save Image As, and I'm going to call this Space Background, and it's going to be saved into my downloads. So, and it's going to save as a JPEG image, which is perfect. So I'm going to save that. Now I'm going to show you how we're going to add that image into Photoshop. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to move my screen recorder up so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to go to File, to Open, and I'm going to click on Downloads, and you can see right here is where my space is. So I'm going to open that up. Now you'll notice that I have two tabs open here. So this is where my actual artwork is going, and this is where my picture is. So I want to get this picture into this document here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag this tab down and off to the side. Then I'm going to come over here in my layers panel, and I'm going to click and drag this image over here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch my image so that it covers the entire background. And I'm going to add something else down here. I'm probably going to add some ocean waves. So I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. So let's go up here and try and find a picture. So let's say beach with ocean. And I really like this image here. Let's see, so you can tell, oh, there it goes. So that's a nice resolution, but it's a little too calm. Let's go with something a little bit more active. So I like these waves right here. So I'm going to hold down Control on my keyboard, and I'm going to click, and then I'm going to say Save Image As, and it's going to save as ocean, and again it's going to save as a JPEG. So I'm going to click Save. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize this window. I'm going to go back over into Photoshop. I'm going to say File, to Open, and I'm going to choose that ocean file. So again, it opens it up in a different window. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag this down and over, and then I'm going to click and drag this picture over here as well. So now I have the bottom portion of what I wanted. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, and then I'm going to click Enter on my keyboard to apply that transformation, and I'm going to center it a little bit. So now I want to get rid of just this top part up here because I don't want this sky up here. I want it to look like it's going into space. So the tool that I can use for this, because this is a nice flat surface right here, so I'm just simply going to choose the rectangle marquee tool. I'm going to go on this horizon line, make sure I have the correct layer selected over here, draw my box that I want to delete, and then I'm going to hit delete on my keyboard. And then I'm going to hit Command D for deselect, Command D for deselect. All right, so now I have my beach down here, I have my sky up here. I actually, remember I said that I want you to think about the rule of thirds, so this isn't quite at that rule of thirds, it's not quite at the 70-30 split, so it looks a little awkward, so I'm going to move this down just a little bit more. And you can see just moving that down a little bit more helps to create that sense of space there. All right, so I'm going to move it down right about here. All right, so now I want to start importing my pictures. So let's see, I want to put in here, I want a bird flying. So let's look for a bird here. So kind of want a black and white bird. I'm going to go with this bird right here. So another way that you can bring pictures in is sometimes you can just simply click and drag, and Photoshop will allow you to bring those images in. So this image allowed me to click and drag this over. So now what I want to do is I want to get rid of this background. So there's a few different tools that we can use for this, but for this one in particular, because it has a nice crisp edge here, what I can use is I'm going to use this magic wand tool. So the magic wand is right over here. It is the fourth tool down, and I'm going to click on the background, and you can see what it's doing is it's picking up those edges. Now if I hold down Shift on my keyboard, you'll notice that a plus sign appears because I'm adding to my selection here. So now that I have all of this selected, I can hit delete on my keyboard and then Command D to deselect. Then I'm going to go click back on my move tool so I can move this bird around on this canvas here. So let's add in something else. So let's add in a turtle here, specifically a sea turtle. We'll have a sea turtle flying in the sky. And I really like this image here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to again try to click and drag this over, and it allowed me to do that. Now this one's a little bit more difficult because it does have some blue around it, but we can try to use the magic wand. This time I'm going to show you the quick selection tool. So this can be your friend. Sometimes it works out really great, and all you have to simply do is click and drag on here. Now you'll notice that it selected a little bit of the turtle's head up here. So what I'm going to do is in the options bar, I'm going to click on that minus. And I'm not holding anything down on my keyboard. I'm just using this tool here. And I'm going to lower the brush size so that's selecting less pixels. And again, I selected a little bit of the turtle that I did not necessarily want to select. And just kind of playing around with this tool to make sure that I have the right selection here. All right, perfect. So now I'm going to hit delete on my keyboard, and you can see that that pretty much does the same thing. It is a little bit messier, but it gets the job done. So we'll put our sea turtle flying in space over here. And the next thing that I want to show you is how to download images from your Google Drive. So here I have some images. I have this picture here, so I'm going to choose this picture, and I'm going to click this download button over here. So once I open this picture up, I'm going to click this download button, and I'm going to go over here into Photoshop, and here I have to click File to open, and it should be in my downloads, so it's still downloading it. So let's make sure that this is downloading here. And another thing that I can try to do is I'm going to try to click and drag and see if this works. No, it's not going to work there. So this is having some trouble with downloading on my computer, so I'm just going to simply take a screenshot of this. So it's Command-Shift-4 to take a screenshot. So I'm just simply going to click and drag on here and take a screenshot. And then this should be on my desktop here. And I'm going to open this up. So if you are having trouble downloading from Google Drive, you can always just screenshot the picture and drag it in that way. So again, I just took that tab, I brought it into another window, and then I'm going to click that layer over. So this is a little bit more difficult because there's all of these borders on here and they're not very clean edges. So I can try to use this tool here. So I'm going to try to use the quick selection tool. Sometimes this works out great. And like I said, sometimes doesn't work out quite so great. So as long as I have the brush down enough, I should be able to make a pretty good selection here. So I'm just toggling back and forth with adding and subtracting here, and just kind of clicking and adding. I don't have to hold anything down on my keyboard. It just simply makes the selection for me. And you can see I can even select inside this area. All right, so I have a selection made, so I'm going to hit delete. So now I have the flowers. I'm going to hit Command D on my keyboard. And now I can move these flowers around. So you can see here, I'm actually going to drop back all of these so that you can see exactly what's going on here. So there is some residue on the side here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the eraser tool. So this is the second set down, and it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th tool down from the second set. And I'm going to choose the eraser tool. And I'm going to bring my brush up a little bit. And I'm just simply going to clean this image up here by using the eraser tool. It is easier if you drop back all of the other layers. So if you hide them, it's a little bit easier to see this, to see what's going on here. All right, so now that I've cleaned this up, I can bring back my other layers and I can figure out where I want to put these flowers here. And if I want to duplicate a layer, if I hit Control and I click on this, I can click Duplicate Layer, and I'm going to make a copy of this. So now I have a duplicate of this that I can move around, and let's say I want to flip this. So if I click and drag this over, and if I want to spin this, I can. So I'm going to do that. All right, so last thing that I want to show you here is I'm going to show you how to bring in a portrait of yourself from Google Drive. So I'm going to pull up Google Drive. All right, and I'm going to choose an image of myself here. And again, I'm just going to take a screenshot of this just because it's the easiest thing to do. I'm going to hit Command-Shift-4, and I'm going to take a screenshot of this, and then I'm going to minimize my window here. Again, I'm going to go over into Photoshop, so make sure that I have the Photoshop selected, and go to File to Open. And I'm going to choose that screenshot that I just took, and bring this down, and drag this over. So now I have this. So for this, what I'm going to use is I'm going to use the pen tool for this. So I have to go around the edges very carefully. And once I get around, you're going to use this a little bit nicer than what I'm doing here. Make sure that you hit all of those points. So the trick with the pen tool is trying to find that closing point. So once I find that closing point, I'm going to hold down Control and I'm going to click in the center, and then I'm going to say Make Selection, and then I'm going to click OK. Then I'm going to go to Select to Inverse, and then I'm going to click Delete. And that's how I can use the pen tool. Now, if any of your layers are saying that you need to do something else to them, if you hold down Control on here and then you click Rasterize Layer right here, that should allow you to edit that. Luckily, all of my images I was able